Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 242 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this episode is brought to you by the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. Go to www.fdfineartsassociation.org to find out more. The Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association believes that the arts should be accessible to everyone, and so do we, so you got to check it out. They're one of the greatest supporters of live music in the north central Iowa area. It's just amazing what they do. Go check out their community calendar on their website, and don't forget to check out their podcast, FDT. New episodes are the first Friday of every month. This episode, I'm sitting down with Andy Juhl. Andy Juhl is somebody that I basically knew about, but I didn't really know at all. I had met him online, I guess, was about the only way I've met him. I had heard stories about Andy and how good he was, and how he plays goofy music that's like not normal time signatures and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I got to meet this guy. And it was fun because like people I knew had played, jam nights and things like that with him. And then before you know it, he's got a band, and then his band's going to start playing shows. And I know people in his band, and it's like, this is cool. I know somebody like third hand almost, and I ended up going to see a show of his, and it was amazing. It was super refreshing to know that there's people out there that enjoy music like that and will make music like that. And they're right basically in our own backyard. So I hope you guys enjoy this one as much as I did. I almost wish I had more time to sit down with Andy, but you know what that means? It just means he's going to have to come back on the podcast sometime, I guess. So this is such a great episode. I got to know Andy Juhl of Andy Juhl and the Blue Stem Players, and I got to see them at Byron's in Pomeroy, which is actually where I recorded this episode. I don't want to talk too much more about it. I'll just catch you guys on the outro. I hope you enjoy it. It's episode number 242 with Andy Juhl.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
I'm sitting down with Andy Juhl. Andy Juhl and the Blue Stem Players is your band.
Yes.
So where are you from originally?
Northwest Iowa.
Okay.
Between Lamar's and Cherokee.
All right.
Kind of halfway in between.
Yeah, I was just kind of like knew you from the Cherokee-ish area. I just like heard about the Cherokee jams that would go on over there.
Jams in Cherokee. My friend Brooks, who plays in the band, hosts the jam a couple times a month.
Is he the other guitarist?
Yeah, he's the other guitar guy.
Oh, cool.
But he's an awesome bass player too. He's one of those guys that, he can play anything.
Oh.
And he's an amazing singer, which, if we were a cover band, he'd be singing all the songs. But we're singing my songs, so.
So you're from over by the Cherokee area. How'd you get started with music? Did you start playing guitar? Was that your first thing?
No, my first instrument was trumpet.
Nice.
Started that in 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a twin brother who plays percussion and drums.
Twin brother. Awesome.
He looks just like me, only he's slightly stupider. And,
Take that. No, just kidding.
He'll probably never. He might see this actually.
Okay.
So, playing percussion, you get to play a whole bunch of different instruments. You don't just play one drum. You play. You play, snare, bass drum. You play xylophone and
stuff. Yeah.
And so I thought, I don't want to just play trumpet. I want to play something else too. And so this is like 6th grade or something. And then my mom said, "Oh, what about guitar?" I thought, "Oh, I hadn't even thought about guitar. Oh, yeah, that sounds cool. I'll play guitar."
Did they offer like guitar at your school?
No, they didn't.
So how do you get? Because I'm assuming we're about the same age.
I'm 45.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I'm like late 30s.
Okay.
Like 30.
So close enough.
Something. Yeah, I'd still call us the same generation.
Yeah.
But it's like basically pre-internet. How'd you learn the guitar?
I took lessons from a guy in Marcus called Mike Hoover.
Okay.
He's really great. He's been playing, in bands. I think he might even be in the Iowa Rock and Hall of Fame.
Cool.
Probably. I think he is.
Nice.
So I started taking lessons from him probably 6th grade.
Okay.
And it was great because I started like reading music. Like he had me like just picking out melodies, like reading some simple sheet music.
Okay.
For a few months, and then we kind of worked into chords after that.
Oh, okay.
Which I was in 6th grade, and that was right after I had started playing trumpet. Which you start simple like that on trumpets. I thought, oh, this is how you play guitar. You,
Yeah.
you start with the single notes and reading music, and then you work into chords, which I found out later. It's
That's the opposite.
That's not normal. You
No,
know?
because I feel like everyone's just like, I want to have fun now, so I'll play either
Yeah.
regular chords or power chords.
Right.
And then single notes later.
Right.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that. Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
It's kind of go
So
backwards.
Can you still read sheet music?
A little bit. I can't sight read very well, but I know what the notes are, and
Oh, nice.
you can figure them out where they are on guitar.
Yeah.
I was just up. My brother lives in Fargo. He teaches at a school, and they were doing a musical, and he was desperate for a guitar player, so I went up to Fargo and played in the pit for his musicals
that's fun.
recently. Yeah.
That's really
So,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I always feel like because I played trumpet in school too, so like I know
Awesome.
what all the notes are.
Yeah.
And if I could if somebody just was like, here's a trumpet, play this, I could do that a
Sure.
million times easier than I could on a guitar.
Yeah.
Probably because I've done it a million times
Right.
more than I've done
Right.
it on a guitar.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Yeah.
where like that transference of knowledge, you know it, but it's not
Mhm.
instantaneous.
That's right. And I'm kind of that way. Like I can sight read on trumpet just fine, but
Yeah.
guitar, I have to sit down and say, okay, there are the notes. Okay, here's where they're on guitar. Oh, but that's not. I want to play it up higher, but then I have to figure it out. It's a lot slower process.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. So you still play the trumpet at all?
A little bit just here and there. I played all the way through college, and then
Oh, cool.
then a little bit after college, I play in like brass quintets and stuff,
Oh, that's fun.
which is really fun. But I haven't played regularly. It's just
Where'd you go to college?
Gustavus Adolphus College.
I have no clue what that is.
Yeah, most people don't. It's in St. Peter, Minnesota.
Okay.
So it's just north of Mankato. So
Oh,
south of the
okay.
Twin Cities, about an hour.
Yeah. Straight up 169.
Yeah.
Highway 169.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I actually like that town a lot.
It's great. Yeah.
There's I mean, that's the one you drive through. There's a couple roundabouts like on either side of the town, maybe, or near one end of the town. I remember that. But there's like, when I used to go to Minnesota, I would stop at like a supermarket there because it was just like, well, this is going to be cheaper than stopping at a gas station.
sure.
And it's right there
Yeah,
on
it's right there.
169.
Yep.
So I was like, yeah, here we go. So I do know where that is, but
Yeah.
I never knew there was, what was the name of the college?
Gustavus Adolphus.
And what is it, a special college of some sort?
It's like a private like Lutheran
Okay.
college.
Okay, cool.
Swedish Lutheran,
Oh,
which-
sweet.
which I'm neither, but that's okay.
Okay.
But the Juhls came from Denmark. That's Scandinavian, I guess. So
Yeah,
it's close enough.
It works. I'll take it. I'll take it for sure. That is a fun last name now that you mention it. Juhl,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I guess I never would have asked or known where that would have come from. But so you
Sure.
played trumpet first.
Yeah.
Was there any inspiration to play guitar, or was it just somebody saying like you should try playing the guitar?
Yeah, just mom. And then right about that time, I was getting into the Beatles at
Okay.
the same time. And so, which is great because then after I started learning chords, then it's like, okay, now I want to learn all the Beatles songs.
Oh
you know?
yeah.
And my twin brother, it was great because he played drums.
Yeah.
And so we would just jam in our house all the time.
I feel like that's a great band to start off with
It
because
is.
you're not just going with regular, G, C, D the whole way through a
Right.
song.
Right, it's a little
You're
more
doing
complex.
like, B7s and
Right.
you're throwing in some stuff where you're like, okay. So it kind of forces you to learn in a different way than you normally
Right.
would.
Right.
I also feel like when you first start, okay, this is going to sound weird.
Mhm.
When you first start playing guitar, you don't know how difficult things are, I feel. So like, you're just
Sure.
like, well, everyone plays B7s and they're,
Right.
or whatever, or like everyone plays a major 9 in every one of their songs, don't they? And then you're
Yeah.
like, no, they don't. But here you have all this weird knowledge that you didn't really realize that was going to help you later.
That's right.
I don't know. So the Beatles, good
Yeah.
band to start off with.
Yeah.
Did,
Yes. Started with the Beatles and then slowly, like 8th grade, 9th grade, both my brother and I started getting into progressive rock bands.
Oh,
Like-
yes.
Like Yes
Okay.
is one of them. And, Genesis is great. King Crimson, those kind of bands. Jethro Tull,
Yeah,
Rush,
Rush,
those kind of
yeah.
bands.
I always felt like King Crimson was one of those bands where you're like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to like King Crimson. It sounds really heavy and crazy. And then you listen
Yeah.
to it and you're like, this isn't as like wild as I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be,
And They've gone through, don't want to turn this into a King Crimson podcast, but they've gone through different, lineups and iterations.
hmm
But yeah, it's all good. I got to see them live a few years ago now where it was like an 8-piece band and they had 3 drummers.
Oh, cool.
And the drummers were lined up in the front row and then the rest of the guys are in the back.
Oh,
So
that's
it was
fun.
like your whole attention was on these drummers and they would like finish each other's fills and stuff.
Oh,
it was
that's
just,
really
it was just
cool.
amazing.
Oh, that's super. Yeah, because you could run some like really weird like delay type things
Oh,
with
sure.
multiple
Yeah.
drummers and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's Okay, so like I do want to say like we are a little bit into this. We are sitting at Byron's actually,
Yeah.
and you just got done playing a show at Byron's.
That's right.
Legendary Byron's,
Legendary Byron's.
Pomeroy, Iowa.
That's right.
And so like I just got to watch you play. So to hear you talk about how like, oh, this band had 3 drummers, that doesn't sound like it's something that's out of the realm for what you have going on, even in the slightest bit.
Well, I thought if I could get my twin brother down for a gig, having 2 drummers with him and Clint would be amazing.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
That would be awesome.
So
Anyway,
yeah,
we
so
don't have to talk about my brother anymore. Sorry, John. This isn't your podcast.
So did you and your brother play a lot growing up then, or
Yeah.
did you have anyone else to bounce ideas off of? Did you have like a high school band or something, or like some other kids
actually-
nearby?
Not really. Because we didn't really have a band until college.
Okay.
Yeah, in high school we didn't. We would play together just in our house, and then a few other things like, in between some one-act plays at school, they needed some entertainment or something. We might do a little something, but no like
Okay.
official band or anything
Yeah, you didn't
until
go play,
college.
Didn't go play shows or anything?
No,
anywhere?
we didn't actually. Yeah, we just kind of
So at what point in time do you start writing music then?
Dabbled a little bit in college, and then definitely after college.
Okay. So like were the songs you first started writing a lot like the songs you write now?
Good question. Not really. The first band I had, like kind of official band after college, we did all originals, and I definitely tried to steer them more in the kind of progressive realm, which the other guys could handle. They liked, and so we were kind of an off-kilter band. We're called the Trimmed Hedges.
It's a fun name.
Yeah. Then that lasted a couple years, and then I was in a band with my twin brother and a bass player called the Pharaohs of Rhythm,
Okay.
and we were like a progressive rock trio, kind of like Rush, but we played all mostly original stuff. So that was kind of like my progressive rock outlet, but I also love like Neil Young is a huge
Okay,
influence on
yes.
me too. And so I had that side of me. And so that's kind of, I started doing like solo albums too that were a little more folky
Okay.
and acoustic with a smattering of, some electric guitars, kind of like Neil Young albums.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
Yeah, you get the Neil Young, but you also get a tiny bit of the Crazy
Crazy
Horse.
Horse stuff.
Yep,
Yeah. So then I would have, kind of both things going on. So some of my earlier albums, like some of them are definitely just like acoustic singer-songwriter, which is, and I did some gigs like that too.
All right. Because I feel like, as a musician, those are like the easiest gigs to just like nab up and go make,
Right.
Make a couple bucks here or whatever, So
Yeah.
I feel like it's nice to have that in your back pocket. Are those still shows that you kind of play every now and then?
Not really as much anymore. Just because I like doing original stuff, mainly because I just, some of those things I don't think I'm great at doing covers.
Okay. All right.
That's just my own, insecurities about vocals and whatnot.
That's weird. It's so weird because everyone has the insecurities. I know they do, but like just to like get done watching you and hear you say that, it's like, all right then.
Yeah, so that's why I sing
So that
I
also
sing my own songs because I'm comfortable singing my own songs.
Yeah, that's kind of why you were like, poking fun at like we don't really play a whole lot of covers, but we're going to slide one in there and it's going to be way different than it normally would be, but we're going to do it anyways.
The problem with doing covers is once you do covers, that's what the crowd likes. And so then you turn into a cover band.
Yes.
I don't want to play what the crowd likes. I want to play my songs.
Oh yeah, and I'm not trying to like call anyone out, but sometimes like we'll be playing I play in like a country kind of rock cover band. We play half and half originals and stuff, but like it never fails where someone's just like like play Ozzy Osbourne, and it's like we haven't played anything even like north of Toby Keith yet, and you're like play Ozzy, and it's like okay, so it always does kind of happen a little bit at shows where you're like okay,
yeah, and I do play in some cover groups like Brooks, who plays guitar in my group. We play together quite a bit. We have kind of this trio that does like cover shows and stuff. And we
cool.
meet it and like
what's it called?
We call ourselves the Bat Band because those are our initials, BAT. Brooks,
right.
Andy, Tim. I thought we should be called TBA because it'd be funny. It might cause some confusion.
Band TBA. Oh my gosh. You would never ever get a booking. Well, you would get all the bookings and then nobody would.
Yeah,
Whatever. You get it. I get it. All right. I'm slow to the uptake on that one.
And then, Brooks and I also play in this Beatles cover band. It's a band that does we do Beatles. We started out doing actually Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young shows.
Sweet.
And then we did some Beatles shows, and then we kind of sometimes do shows where we do a mixture of those.
Nice.
Which is really fun. Especially being able to do Beatles songs and do them well,
Yeah.
Since that's what I started when I was a kid. It's like
that's where your insecurity came from. Dude, I always so I always say that about the Beatles was like you're not allowed to cover the Beatles because you're not going to do a good job. That was always just like the thing, There's very few people who have ever done it and even done it well enough to be like, that's a decent song.
Right.
And even then sometimes we're like Guns N' Roses covered, a Beatles song here, it's
right.
Like, it sounds okay. I mean, it's great. It's Guns N' Roses doing the Beatles, but at the same time, like that's about as bad as you can do. And I'm not saying it's bad, but like if you get any crazier than that, people are gonna be like, you're ruining the Beatles.
Right. That's right.
So
the only cover of a Beatles song that I think is maybe even better than the original is Joe Cocker's "With a Little Help from My Friends." That is good.
I could hear that.
That's good.
Yeah, it's just not
to take anything away from Ringo's performance, but I think,
It's just, I just think that's a thing with the Beatles where it's just like, they're just held in such high regard that like, that's probably honestly where your like insecurity came from, where you're just like, I have to do this justice. If it's not perfect, then it's bad,
That's true.
And so even now you're nailing like other songs 99%, but just not quite, that last 1%, you're like, it's not Beatles good. So what's the other band name that you're in? You were talking about another band that was doing Beatles and Crosby, Stills, Nash covers.
Abbey Soul, which is kind of like Abbey Road and Rubber Soul.
Do you have like any like social medias or Facebooks or anything for those?
Not for those, no.
No, just kind of doing shows for fun on those?
Yeah, just whenever one of the guys in the band kind of usually lines up the shows and say, hey, you want to do another one of these shows? Yeah,
sure,
of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's cool. I mean, I guess I thought this was the only thing you did was Andy Juhl and the Blue Stem Players, so it's nice to know that like you are out there like exploring other musical avenues, so you're not,
I don't want to not cover, because I still love playing cover songs. Just at an Andy Juhl show, I kind of want that just to be original stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, so we were talking like at intermission a little bit, but like you played at Byron's. This is the first time you've ever been to Byron's.
Yeah.
Either one, because this is the new Byron's.
Right.
So, and you had mentioned like why you thought this would be a good place to play. Like let's kind of like touch back on that, because I think somebody had mentioned that this is like kind of a listening room.
Right. Because I've heard a little bit about Byron's here and there, and then when his place was closing, his old place was closing. Then I heard an interview on the radio, probably like NPR or something. Public radio or something with Byron, and he was talking about how it's a place to listen. He tells people to be quiet while the music is playing. I thought that sounds like the perfect place to play. I want to play there.
Yeah, and he will, and if he doesn't, someone else will.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's a nice. I mean, I think it harkens back to like a different time. There used to be a place, places where people would just sit down and listen to stuff. And I think it's kind of like, as weird as it sounds, like part of the Grateful Dead culture just kind of pushed into like a small town bar, which is kind of neat because they're those kind of people where we're like, we're sitting here and we're listening to this to enjoy this, maybe recording it too with, field recorders.
Sure.
And I don't want to have you talking about, X, Y, and Z in the middle of it. It's no different than going to like a comedy club. You just need to keep it quiet, and
that's right.
There's somebody doing something and they're the focal point, and you don't want to be the focal point. Yeah. So, this is such a great place. Yeah. You were talking about how they're like, we're talking about Byron's on NPR and things like that. Like he was in Wall Street Journal. He was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal at one point in time.
Whoa.
I like just unearthed my copy because I have a subscription, but I like pulled it up and I was like, oh yeah, like I forgot that Byron was on the front page of this and I still have it. So it's pretty wild. I remember that was a thing where like here's where you can order a copy if you want it. And it was like, that was circulating around the internet too. And I wonder how many people just bought a copy just to have it because he was on the front page.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So how many shows do you play? Because I know that you've played another show somewhat, like maybe it was in the Cherokee-ish area, but you had played another show a few months back that was sort of close by, and I missed it. But.
Yeah. Booking is the hardest part of the whole thing. Usually do maybe one a month or something. We might have 2 in March. So it's, booking is hard because places where our music would fit in,
Okay.
because like a loud bar where people aren't listening, I don't know, it'd be fine, but it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You want to feel like you're, okay. So this is going to sound weird. So for people that don't know your type of music, it's like the easiest thing I can describe. Pink Floyd. Everybody knows Pink Floyd. It's like a cousin to Pink Floyd.
Sure.
It's right in that realm. It's not Pink Floyd, but it's close.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in that area.
Sure.
It's Italian food. When you're talking, is it pizza? Is it lasagna? I don't know. It's Italian food. So you're in that area, but like you have to bring pedals with, and you have to bring synthesizers with, and bass player and another guitarist and a full drum set. And it's music that, like, if you're going to take the time to take all this stuff with you and step on all the pedals to do all the noises and things, you kind of want people to sit down and appreciate it.
Because there's a lot of little stuff going on that you'd miss.
Bingo.
And all the other players, they're always throwing in these cool little licks and fills all the time, and I want people to hear those because they're awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like it's great because your songs all kind of flow. Because like your first maybe like 1 or 2 songs you play, just kind of like it's like as soon as you think the song is done, it's fading out. If you listen quietly, somebody's actually starting a new thing to change it to do the next thing. And I can't tell if you're going from song to song to song, or if this is like one whole song with like 4 pieces to it, or what's going on.
Yeah, there are some songs we did put together, and then there are other ones where, we just added an extended ending to it or something,
Yeah. So. Is that something that you, like when you're formulating these songs, do you do that like by yourself in a studio, or are you sitting down with like a tape recorder where you're just like, okay, it goes from this and then we go into this part here, or like how do you chisel this all out?
I write the stuff at my house and just use a DAW and just record, play this section and then this section, and
Okay, so you write it section by section and then push them together.
Usually, yeah. Although a lot of them kind of start out as almost singer-songwriter type things. There's verse and chorus and stuff, and then just elaborate on that and make it a little weird,
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's certain songs I can kind of hear what you're talking about. Like the easiest thing to do is follow the bassist. It's like, well, here's either like the root notes or like fifths or fourths or thirds or whatever. But you can kind of see where like the basic building block of the song is, and then you're just, but to me, it's like, how did you get from that to where it's at now? Is it when you put all the other guys in a room together, or
some of it is because some of these songs that we did are on like my more singer-songwriter albums, and we just kind of electrify them and throw in little weird stuff just to make them different.
So what about like time signatures then? So because I noticed like a couple of your songs, it's like, well, this one is mostly 4/4, and then you go into this weird part where it's like 7/4 for a while.
Right.
And when I say weird, it's a nice compliment to say weird. But it's just like, this is not regular head bob and 4/4, but again, people like Pink Floyd and whoever that you can make 7/4 normal. And that's what you guys are doing up there. And it's one of those things where you're going along with it, and then you're like, it's normal, but it's different, and something's different, and you have to figure it out. And that's where me being a musician, I'm like, okay, they're doing 7/4,
right?
So like, how do you figure that out when you're writing these pieces of music? Are you thinking consciously to yourself, we're like, this is the 4/4 section, and now we're doing 5/4 for the next? Do you consciously think that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this part's gonna be in 7/8 or something.
Okay.
It's funny. Even just last night, my daughter was in an honor band, and they were playing a song that was like 2 bars of 6/8 and a bar of 4/4, and I actually took my phone out and wrote that down. I can make a good song.
Yeah.
2 bars of 6/8 and then there's your 4/4. That's the cool little groove. So yeah.
I feel like I can't remember. There's a name. They have names for it when you have like a complex time signature that's broken down into what would just be, if you sliced it into really small chunks, it's like, well, this is just a 2-3-2 pattern over and over and over again.
That's usually how I think of it. Like 7/8, I think of like a lot of times it's like 2-2-3. It says. 1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes.
And yeah, some people might think 7/8's weird, but if you like, you can really get into a groove like like a whole
Yeah.
song like that. It's
Yeah,
fun.
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not the normal head bobbing,
No.
but it feels good.
Right.
If you can make the turnaround work,
Right.
which I always thought was the hardest part about
It
writing
is.
weird
Yeah.
time signatures, quote unquote weird.
Yeah.
But like, is that something? Was it always easy for you to do that, or is it still something that is?
Yeah. Not to be braggy, but I started listening to progressive rock bands when I was fairly young, and
So it didn't seem out of
being in
place.
like just classical pieces. Sometimes they'd have some mixed meter in them too, and so it's like, what's funny is, some of these songs, I'll accidentally play a 7/8 measure instead of a 4/4 measure. Whoops! I accidentally played 7/8 instead of 4/4. Whoops!
So you're even pushing odd time signatures into songs where you wrote normal ones.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. So, like, what is the weirdest time signature you think you've used in a song?
15/16.
Okay.
Which is one from my latest album, which is a little different. We can get into that, but it's basically 4/4, except you take off 1/16 note.
Yep.
So it basically sounds like 4/4, but maybe just a little bit off. But
Yes.
it almost sounds like 4/4.
Okay. How does-
because you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like a the last bit's just a little bit quicker,
it's so wild your brain can actually, because like I would have to sit down and just be like, I'd have to like write it down and then be like do it like super slow, and then I could like
I
feel
do
like
it slow.
yeah,
I think the key to like learning mixed meter is you have to like almost forget everything that you've learned, and like you're starting from scratch, because otherwise it's hard to break the 4/4.
yes,
But if you just don't put that out of your head and then just go da 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 da, and so then get into the groove. Yeah,
it's exactly like you just said. It's the groove. That's like the first thing you said when you have to like ignore everything else. I'm like, I could see where you could like, if you ignored everything, you would just get into the groove.
Right.
Because there's how many Rush? I mean, let's just break it down to like, how many Rush songs are there that are not normal time signature that you just always bob your head, regardless?
Right. I think that's the trick. Try to do mixed meter without people realizing necessarily that it's mixed meter.
Bingo. Because if it just grooves, it grooves. And there's, I mean, there's so many Rush songs. I didn't even ask if it was 4/4 or not.
Sure.
Like YYZ the other day, I was listening to it. I'm like, I don't know. I have no clue what time signature this is in, but and they're pushing Morse code into the music at that point too. Where I don't know who would even think of that, but. So let's talk about album writing. So when did your first album, like when did you write your first album? Like how old were you?
So the first solo album was probably, I should have come prepared.
Oh, that's okay.
Probably
that's the best part about these.
Mid aughts.
Okay.
Probably like 2005.
All right. So you've been writing music for a while then.
Yeah. I have probably 9 albums or something.
That's wild.
Crazy. I don't know.
I remember looking it up once, maybe when I first messaged you to like hop on the podcast. I was like, there's more here than just what I know from like seeing you recently online.
Yeah. But the recent stuff is the better stuff.
Okay.
I have gotten better. I think.
Okay.
Sometimes I listen to the old ones like, okay.
I love how every singer-songwriter's like that when it's like there's so many people that are just like love struck by the first ones, and they're just like, that's the stuff I fell in love with though,
Right. That's right. I wonder if the Beatles thought that, this first album, they sucked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hard Day's Night. Get out of here. Like this pop stuff, ew, gross. I mean, oh man, that's hilarious. So so how many albums did you say you had?
Probably 9. I don't know.
And that's
people
all.
Can look it up on the internet.
That's between solo.
That's just solo.
Okay, so you haven't done a one with a band yet, then?
Not yeah.
Okay.
And I get other people to play on my albums.
Okay. I was gonna say
like my brother plays drums on all my albums, and Brooks has played on 1 or 2, and Josh, who's doing the sound here at Byron's, he has done the mixing and mastering on.
Nice.
All the recent ones, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved how you gave him some shout outs during the show, and I always feel like the sound sound guy person, is
Yeah.
always like the last person that gets.
Right.
It's like they're doing probably the most work.
Oh man,
not
we would,
really.
we would
but
sound
they are.
terrible without him.
Yeah,
it would not be good.
Yeah, you have a lot of stuff going on there to get
Yeah.
everything harnessed correctly.
That's right.
So I always made sure to cheer like really loud. I was just like, "Woo, yeah, sound person, all right." Is that something? Did you always have a sound person at shows, or did you realize when you were getting more complex with the full band, 900 pedals on the floor, or whatever it is?
Yeah.
I did take a picture of the pedal board. Maybe I'll slide it in here. I don't know, but like you do have a handful of pedals. Though,
I do. Yep. That's not even all of them. I have more of them. And it's funny because Owen on bass and Brooks on guitar, they had little pedal boards, and those are all my pedals too. I brought pedal boards for them to use.
I was wondering because I've never really seen. I was in a band with Owen for a while. Never used pedals, so it's like,
sure.
Where'd you get these pedals, Owen? Like, I always thought it'd be fun. Like, if Owen got into pedals, I feel like he would just shift music into such a weird space, because he's so good without them, But
right.
Have you always been into guitar pedals? Let me ask you that. Or was it
definitely more recently?
All right. Because you have like a promo picture of you with guitar pedals.
Yeah.
So.
Because when I started, it was just the normal, a distortion and maybe a flanger.
Yeah.
And just started fairly simple.
Dude, that's fun that you went distortion and flange, because I always think, like, what are the most normal guitar pedals? Well, distortion and overdrive, and then maybe delay and reverb. And you went flange for the other one?
Yeah.
I kind of get it, because my second one I ever had was chorus.
Sure.
So, like, kind of sort of the same thing,
similar.
Yeah. But... it does make sense with the music you're playing. Like, I have like a phase pedal, which is really close to a flange, but it's like I never use it. Why would I have no use for it in most of the music I play.
Yeah.
So
I just love coming up with new sounds. That's like just sitting at home and what kind of weird sound can I make? And then
we've been using the word weird a lot.
Yeah.
But I will say there was not a sound you made that was like either offensive sounding.
Sure.
So there wasn't anything where you're just like sitting there like holding, like plugging one ear and turning your head like, okay.
Except when I was singing.
But there was never one of those noises. And there was never a sound that was just like, that's neat, but it's way out of place.
Sure.
How do you figure out what sounds fit in where? Because let's just break it down for people like this. If you have 10 pedals on your board, how many combinations, like you have X to the, whatever power of different combinations you can make. How do you choose?
Yeah. I usually start with like one pedal and then get a cool sound, and then maybe add, like a reverb or a delay to that one. But start with one pedal that makes a cool sound, and then just kind of build it from there. I don't know.
So are you like does your pedal board, because like I said, I took a picture of it. I don't know what half the pedals do, and I consider myself somebody that knows a decent amount of pedals.
Sure.
Do you go series all the way through all your pedals, or do you have some sort of like, do they split apart and come back?
No, just series. It would be awesome to do some sort of parallel stuff, but that would take even more work and probably even a bigger pedal board.
Yeah. I think the coolest thing I heard was like either two choruses in parallel or like two different reverbs or two different delays in parallel. Sounded really kind of crazy to me, but again, like you said, that'd just be extra stuff to take.
That would be cool, because then you could separate it and then have this chain doing one thing, this doing the other thing, and then
it all meets back up at the amp or 2 amps or whatever.
Right, yeah, that'd be cool.
That's great. So like you're doing all this in series, which is I think even more mind bending to me, because like I feel like if you start stacking pedals, even if they're in the wrong, like this could be in a different order and they would sound good, which is like a whole nother thing where like if you want to flange it, but after the distort or whatever you choose, and everyone has their kind of favorites on where it goes, but like. How long did it take you to like decide this is the pedal board I'm using, or is it always changing?
Thanks, Josh. Josh is the sound man is extraordinaire.
Love it.
To build this pedal board. The pedal board is kind of one of those things that's always evolving. But I finally got this one where I've kind of decided, okay, at least now this is going to be my pedal board for this band. I guess for a while until I decide to change. But I like to have a mix of there's some distortion on there, and then pitch shifting and delays and some synth stuff. And,
the synth stuff is always interesting to me.
That's fun,
because like those people with those old like Moog They had like the upright stuff with all the
Right.
cables and pins,
Yep.
the patch bays and all
Right.
this stuff. It's like, what? Like, what are we talking about? And then you have stuff that's basically doing something like that on a guitar pedal board.
Right.
During one of the intermissions, I heard you talking about how like certain guitars have the ability to like do MIDI stuff, and I was like, please don't tell me this guy's got a MIDI guitar set up.
No, but
Not yet.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, I can just imagine.
But all those pedals do have MIDI on them, and I use a MIDI controller to
okay,
change all this. So I program it. So like, okay, here's the verse. Yeah. Otherwise, I'd just be tap dancing all the time.
the
on that
whole
thing.
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, here's the verse. I stomp on it. Oh, chorus, stomp, and it changes all the pedals. And
Okay.
stuff.
So that makes a little bit more sense in my brain because I'm like a set it and forget it kind of pedal guy, you know, and I want to make it as easy as possible for myself. All right. So let's go down to other odd gear. So I want to say, like, I saw your ads on Facebook for the show coming up and other stuff that you're promoting. Great job, because I'm seeing them, so they're hitting.
It's good.
They're hitting target audience.
I've been doing more of the social media.
Yeah, I just want to let you know. I think it works from my end. From my end, it looks like it is. So
yeah, I've hooked up with a group called Indiepreneur, and I recommend them for any musician who wants to build a following online.
Nice.
I think they're great because it's run by musicians, and they put out trainings on how to do all of the social media marketing and ads and stuff. And they constantly put out new trainings, and they have they have a Facebook group, and you can type in your questions and they'll answer, like 3 times a week. They just go in there on a live stream and they'll answer any questions that people have.
Cool.
So it's not just like somebody putting out, like a course on how to do it, and then you never hear from that. You don't know,
Yeah,
it's like it's like it's always changing, and they're always updating it to the current trends, and
that's cool.
And they do testing themselves. Oh, we found that this works and stuff, and so we're gonna show you, and we're gonna show you what this person is doing, and you learn from other people in the community too. And
that's really cool.
So,
nice. Yeah, I'm really big on like marketing bands because there's so many bands that are just like, we play music and nobody comes and the scene here sucks. And it's like, well, it's not their fault. It's not really your fault. But if somebody had the onus to make it somebody's fault, it's not the fault of people who have no clue that you're playing music.
Right.
It's not their fault. They don't know. You have to find a way to let them know.
Yeah.
I used to be like, marketing is somebody trying to push something on you. It's like more like, this is just letting the people who might want to be interested in this know that it even exists in the first place.
That's right.
Which, I don't know, marketing's kind of dirty. And
I know people don't like all the ads on Facebook that they see all sponsored, but that's how musicians are making a living. They need those ads, And
how many times have you watched TV where you're just like, this is stupid, I don't care about this is stupid. And then like one ad hits and you're like, sweet, I'm gonna go buy a McChicken after work,
Right.
But so like the stuff that's targeted towards you that you agree with, you're not like, this is dumb,
Right.
like, but the stuff that's not, that's when you're just like, I don't like this.
Right.
So marketing when it works, it's like, you don't see it as you're being marketed towards. You're just like, somebody told me, so-and-so's new album came out, or they have like super crispy Rice Crunch cereal it's on sale. It's like, I eat that all the time. I want to buy it while it's on sale or whatever, $5 foot long or whatever.
Right.
So there's a lot of things where like marketing, is actually a good thing where people don't actually think of like it as a whole. Right. However, while we're going down this, let's say it one more time. What was the name of the group that you guys?
Indiepreneur.
Definitely worth.
.io. Yeah.
Definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
So, I do want to say, when I saw those videos online, I saw a goofy looking guitar that you were playing, and I was trying to figure out exactly what it was. I'm usually somebody who goes and like double researches things, like I got to see what this is. But I was just kind of letting my imagination run wild, and I was like, this thing looks like a super thin, small mailbox that somebody could put like one parcel in, and that's it.
Right.
And that's all. That's as far as I got with it with my brain watching you play this thing. It's weird shaped and stuff. Yeah. Then when I got up close and realized, that's kind of what it is. You had mentioned it was like a sheet metal.
Piece of sheet metal, and it's folded in half. Yeah. A German guitar maker makes it.
So it's like a U shape, but like, upside down, and you play it the thin way.
Right.
Yeah. But then the craziest thing about it was like, well, these pickups are magnetic, and I was just like, duh. But then you were like, so they just stick to the guitar wherever you want. And I was like, what the heck? Like at first I was like, we get it. That's how magnets work and pickups. And then you were like, picked it up and moved it around.
You can move wherever you want.
Because it's a metal guitar. It's just stuck to it. I was like, oh, it's like an actual magnet, like a fridge magnet.
It is.
That's cool. That's so cool.
It is.
Wildest guitar I've seen in a long time. What even is it?
It's Verso Instruments is the brand. The guy who makes them
Okay.
in Germany. Yeah, it's one of those things.
I didn't know if it
Saw
was
it on
something
saw it on YouTube, and then you think,
Okay.
oh, geez, okay, well, I have to have that.
Yeah.
You know.
I didn't know if it was something you had made or something, or like what it was, because it's just so interesting looking. I guess I didn't realize it was versatile as as you were talking about. Oh, I could just move these things around
Yeah,
here and do this.
and that's something I want to experiment more with, like, because I could like take the pickup off and hold the pickup up to something else,
Mhm.
and have that run through the pedals or something.
Yeah, or
A
just
lot of
like
experimentation.
or have one like at the bridge and have the other one be
you
like
could.
diagonally over the low three
Right.
strings and just
Yeah.
get like a real weird bassy.
Right.
Yeah, you could go wild
Right.
with this thing.
And just think of it as stereo. You could have one go one way, one the other way. That'd
Oh
be super
yeah,
awesome.
that would be really cool. Because I mean, there were like switches and stuff. I haven't talked to you too much about it. I'm gonna have to like look at their guitars online and see exactly what
Yeah.
they all do. But there was like other switches and things, like maybe a piezo pickup.
Yeah,
or
there's
something
one of
going on.
those which I haven't experimented with a lot with that aspect of it
Nice.
yet. But yeah,
I've saw something where somebody was doing. There's like a piezo to MIDI translator that works really well.
okay.
I don't know if Roland made it or something, or Boss might have made one or something.
Okay.
But maybe that might be up your alley or
That,
something. to
that sounds
try.
amazing. So
Yeah, that was the only time
I
I've
better
ever.
not come across it. I'll have to buy.
The only time I ever saw it was a guy had this guitar that he modded and he put a piezo pickup in it, and that went into this like floor unit that he could just tell it to be like, all right, now just make this like a trumpet in the background with
cool.
like a lot of chorus on it, so it sounds like there's a bunch of trumpets playing along. And he would get to like certain parts in the song and just like stomp it on. All of a sudden, it was just like, bah, bah, like just ringing in behind what he was playing.
Cool.
It's like that's weird, But if you can apply it in
Yeah.
the right way,
Yeah.
it would be amazing,
One thing I've experimented with a little bit is there's a plugin on my on the computer, for your recording software
Mhm.
that can turn like your audio into MIDI notes.
Okay.
And so I've experimented with that, so I can play guitar and those notes can like play a synth or
Okay.
something, or a synth on the
Alright.
computer and stuff.
So
Which is really great because I'm not a keyboard player, so it's great for
Yeah.
you're doing like synth parts and stuff. I can just play
Yeah.
it on guitar, and then it plays the synth on the computer.
all right, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I mean, I feel like that's like reverse engineering some sort of like auto tune type deal where it's like, oh, you're playing these notes, which we
Yeah.
can just chop it into these,
Right.
this part of the MIDI, like because MIDI is just stuff sectioned off into frequency sections, basically in some capacity, I guess. 'Cause if you think about like, that was the first thing when somebody was like, well, a keyboard is like a MIDI thing. It's just shaped like a keyboard. And you're like, oh, so this could just be like a whole bunch of buttons in a grid pattern
Sure.
if it really wanted to,
Yeah. Right.
So you can get really lawless with MIDI,
Right.
like in a hurry, though.
Yeah.
But is it the fact that you play very unique music like this that you're into like unique pedals and unique guitars and things like
probably. This probably has a lot to do with it.
that?
'Cause I was just like experimenting and coming up with new sounds. And it's kind of a musical explorer.
This is gonna sound weird. I'm likening this whole thing to like an analogy. So like imagine like a chef that wants to come up with new foods.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody thinks like all the food has been invented already, but then they come up with something where they like fuse different things together that you wouldn't think they would normally go together. But how many times have they tried something that didn't taste good, but then after a while they get good enough at it that they're like, this will probably taste good, and they can figure it out. That's kind of
Sure.
what you're doing here with
Yeah.
like you're making
Yeah.
new food.
Sure.
This you're mixing new things to
Yeah.
it. All right.
And a lot of times with my music, it's, like harmonically, I'm not using a lot of weird chords or weird progressions or anything. Usually,
Could have fooled me.
But it's more like the sound,
Mhm.
and these weird bleeps and bloops going on.
So this is gonna sound also weird. So like I remember the first time I like interacted with, I think it was called like a Boss slicer pedal.
Yeah,
where you can
I have one of those.
I was wondering. So like I
Cool.
didn't see it on your board,
No,
but I feel like I've seen you and that together somewhere at one point in time, maybe in a video or
Possibly,
something.
I might have used that in the video. It was on my board just for a little while, but then there was another pedal I wanted on
Yeah.
more. Because that's really cool. Because that just chops everything up.
Yeah, and it
And
can
rhythm. It can do like different rhythms.
and
stuff.
kind of change the notes maybe
Yeah,
as
I
it
think
does
so.
it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that one. I'm just like, wow. If you sat down with this and got good at using this could be indispensable. But at the same
Yeah.
time, maybe not.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. I feel like that's the toughest part about doing what you're doing is finding a way to get through all the muck and just the noise that's being made and actually applying it in some capacity.
Yeah.
It's almost like a like a dressing, like a pizza sauce or something that's just like so weird. It's like this only works on certain pizzas, you know. Like,
That's right.
you're not gonna go into a country band and use a slicer. I don't
That's
think.
right.
Right.
Although that would be cool.
It would be cool. It would be cool. So you're talking about how you only play like maybe one show a month, maybe like a couple here and there.
It's just hard to get the guys together. Everybody's busy, and so
That is
that's
true.
the hardest part.
You do have
Clint plays in a bunch of bands, as you know. And
I play in a band with him. And,
that's right.
Yeah, he plays in your band, and I mean his episode was recent, so you can go listen to it. But I mean, we're talking the rumors and the sleepover and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Which I can see how he's in demand. He's quite good.
Yes, he's quite good. He is quite good.
Yeah.
I feel like as all of us age, I talked about this in a recent episode with Owen O'Brien I did on the podcast, but as we all age, it's like you start learning how to be a little bit more tasteful to the music you're playing and stuff like that, and you learn how to like change what you're doing just a little bit to fit and mold in, a little bit better. Yeah. It's one of those things where I feel like, and it's nothing against him, but like predominantly being a metal, et cetera, guitarist or drummer, I feel it might be hard to gear shift into what you're doing, where it's just like, now how do I play something in 15, 16 time, Not that he couldn't do it, but it's just, it's got to be a weird gear shift. Was it hard to find the right people to play with?
Kind of. Brooks, I've been playing with him for a long time. So I knew he could, he's just great at everything. And then Owen, I met Owen. He would come to Cherokee on occasion to the jams and stuff. That's kind of how I met Owen. I thought, okay, this guy's good.
Yep.
And then I was looking for a drummer. Since my brother is too busy to come play my music, I don't know. He's like a family and a job. Like, geez,
oh my
lame.
Gosh. Family.
My
job.
music should come first.
Oh wow, he's responsible. Boo.
So I was looking for a drummer, and Owen said, "Oh, he might know of somebody." And then I said, "I just have like 2 requirements for drummer. They have to be comfortable playing some mixed meter, just because I have some of that in my songs, and they have to be a good listener." Listen to what else is going on, and listen, because we have, they have to play what's appropriate to what everybody else is doing, or play off of other people, because I played with other, some other drummers who they're kind of in their own little world, kind of oblivious.
I mean, well, the thing is, like, that's how I was as a guitarist when I first started learning how to play leads. It's just like, it's almost like a kid who like first learns that like crayons, and then all of a sudden it's just like, here, color in this thing, and they're not even going in the lines; they're just all over the place. And that's how I was for so long before I finally realized I was like, oh, it looks better if you're actually inside the lines. Oh, you can do a little shading, cool. Like I never even thought about trying that. So there's a lot of stuff where like. It took me a long time to even get into that mindset too. I think,
it's so fun, listening to what other people are doing, and then you play something that kind of goes along with what they're doing. Clint played this cool rhythm. I'm gonna kind of accent that rhythm too, because it was cool. We do stuff like that all the time.
Yes, or filling in after somebody else fills in, or like this is their spot to draw in the meter, and this is where my spot is to draw in the meter. There was like me and Owen kind of got really good at that when we were in a country band together. He's like, well, Peter always tags these parts with these fills, which gives Owen the whole rest of the measure to do whatever he wants. Kinda, in theory, so he would, and so
and I think playing trumpet, like especially like brass quintets, helped a lot because you have to blend with everybody, it's just part of it, and you have to listen to everybody and be in tune with everybody, and so you just get used to listening to other players.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do want to say one of the funnest things you played tonight was the Sesame Street 12 song. You started playing it. I was like, I bet I'll know what this song is. And then you started playing. I'm like, I do know exactly. Yeah. I'm seeing the whole thing in my head. Yeah. I leaned over to the person next to me. I'm like, this is the thing with the pinball.
With the pinball thing.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. And so then like you get down, you're like, yeah, there was a graphic with a pinball. And I'm like, I was right. I know what I was talking about. Like, it's great. Why in the world would you play the Sesame Street 12 song?
Because it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Like the beginning, it's like, I don't even know what meter it is. It's like, it's just crazy. And then the solo, I don't know if you've heard it recently, but the solos are just amazing. You have, first starts out with like a steel drum just going crazy. And then it's like a guitar, and it's just like, Yeah, it's amazing.
I saw a video recently of somebody talking about like this song's in a weird time signature. The song's actually pretty wild. Like it's not just like a song, you know.
Right.
And then when I sat and listened to it, I'm like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it is weird. And then you're just like, that's too much for me though, goodbye. And then you just like shut it off. It's like, I haven't heard this in a while, but you're right, it is weird meter. And then it's just like when I watched you guys playing, I was like, God dang, they pulled it off. I can't believe they did it, you know. So it's just wild.
Yeah, it's basically, you just play the melody or the head for a jazz term, and then you do a solo, and then you come back to the head again, and somebody else takes a solo. That's kind of how we did it.
Yeah, it's really wild. So I feel like I've covered most of the stuff on here. I know, like, I do want to say once again, you just got done playing a show. You just got done packing up. We're still at Byron's. The place is basically empty, and I don't want to keep anyone else here too much longer.
Clint is still here.
Clint is still here. So, yes, shout out to Clint. Clint Wheelman is right over there.
Oh,
Hey-o.
You shouldn't have said all the bad stuff about him.
There he is. He's right there. He just popped in the camera. So, yeah, I do want to say, like, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to, like, sit down and talk with me. I know this was something we had kind of mentioned trying to do in some capacity, but there's a lot of miles between us, so it wasn't as easy to do. And then I was like, you're coming basically to the spot right in the middle. Right. So I'm going to stop and we're going to do this if we can. And
yeah, I really appreciate you doing this podcast. It's great for Iowa musicians. This is awesome.
Yeah. I just wanted to, the one thing I was like, if you go out somewhere and you're like, if you're like at a show and you're like, oh, that's Andy Juhl. Now you have something to talk to him about. Oh, I saw you on a podcast. You played the 12 song. Sweet. Now you got it in, So if you see Andy, ask him about the Sesame Street song or his goofy guitar or like what pedals he has on his pedal board today or whatever, So
I should tell you about my most recent album.
Let's do it.
Really quick, if you have time.
Definitely got time.
So, my family and I were on this little island up in Canada, and I took this like field recorder and recorded a bunch of nature sounds. Mm-hmm. And then I took those sounds home, put them in the computer and a sampler and stuff, and kind of mangled them and kind of made instruments out of those sounds, and then used those instruments as the instruments on the album.
Oh my God. And
it basically sounds like a lot of synthesizers, kind of, but it's all those nature sounds originated as those nature sounds. So there's no guitars, no drums or anything. It's just those, and then singing. I sing on it too, so it's not just like weird. It's like actual song. It's kind of like songs, but.
So is this album out right now?
Yeah, it's called Pine Island.
Pine Island. I'm gonna listen to it on the way home. Pine Island.
So it sounds like a kind of like a synth album, but there's vocals, so it's like songs and stuff. Oh, there it is.
Oh, hey,
thanks,
sweet.
Clint. That's the one.
Executive producer Clint over there. Basically, no, that is sweet. I'm super into that. The dumbest thing, like, I'm not good at writing songs, but like the last song I tried to attempt to write was basically a song I wrote around like one bird chirping.
Oh, cool.
And so I was just like, this sounds kind of neat.
Awesome.
Let's see if I can just use this as like the starting point of like every phrase that I use.
Cool.
And that was like the last thing I tried to write. So
that's awesome.
Kind of
do you have a recording of that?
I do. I do have. I do have some junk that I've recorded. Yes, it's not very good. Oh my gosh! But that's the whole gist of what. And that kind of made me think of this, where it's like you're taking this to an extreme where you're just taking all these different recordings and making it into something. That's really intriguing. So
yeah. So you won't really hear a whole lot of nature sounds. There might be a few, but yeah, like I said, that sounds kind of like synthesizers. Once you mangle them enough, it's gonna sound like a synth.
But that's still cool, And it's like that's another thing where when I have a MIDI like doodad, but the thing that bothers me is there's no limits to what noises you can put in here.
Right.
That's what bothers me because I don't know what to put in here. And you put stuff in, you're like, maybe it would sound better with other stuff, and then you change it, and you're like, now I don't know what these buttons do, and it's
sometimes some too much choice sometimes is like debilitating, and you just like sit there and I can't. Sometimes I think it's good to have like constraints, like I'm only going to use the
sounds from nature that I recorded.
This is all, and come up with those few sounds. Okay, everything's going to be this.
Nice.
And so that kind of frees you up to just focus on that. Otherwise, like you said, those possibilities are endless, and then it's like paralyzing. It's like, I don't know.
That's, I think, probably the craziest part about all the music that you played tonight was that it's limitless music. You could 7/4. Well, why not 9/4, 12/4, or
That's true.
44/7 music, or what do we where does it end, and like how do you choose and just be like 15/16 is perfect for this, not 13/16, 15/16. Like this is the stuff that makes your music special, and that's something that there's a lot of people like me that would just don't have the time or the brain power to sit down and chisel that kind of stuff out. And that's what I think is super cool about that.
Well, thanks.
You played in like the perfect room today. Once again, we're at legendary Byron's. And I'm sitting down with legendary Andy Juhl. And I do want to say once again, thank you for checking this out. I'll put links down below to anything. Just send them on over. I'll put them in the description section. So check out Pine Island. I'm checking it out on the drive home because I have a 45-minute drive home.
It should be on Spotify.
All right. If it's not, I'm calling you.
Well, yeah. Maybe you shouldn't use Spotify if you want to support musicians, but it's there.
That's true.
Or you can listen to it on Spotify and then buy the album.
And buy the album, then listen to Spotify all you want.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's how you're actually supposed to do that. So yes. So Andy Juhl and the Blue Stem Players. I will once again put links down below to everything I can find. Check out Pine Island. Click on every link he's got. And again, this is just such a fun thing. You're not in the normal circle that I run in, which is like super cool, but you hang out with people that are in the normal circle I run in, which is like super cool. It's so cool. You're not making the normal music.
Right. I've never been accused of being normal. So,
That's cool. Stay unique. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay true to yourself because this is awesome. It was a great night hanging out watching you play music, man. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
That is episode 242 with Andy Juhl. What a great one it was. Andy is so fun. I had such a blast sitting down talking with him. I do have to say right off the bat, go check out Pine Island. It's wild how he can make sounds that he recorded and basically chop them up a bunch until there's, you can put them into a MIDI something or whatever and synthesize them to the point where they're just synthesizer noises. It's so cool. It is so cool. I listened to it on the drive home. And it's definitely worth checking out. So that's Pine Island. It's Andy Juhl's recent release. You can find it online just about anywhere. So go check that out. Otherwise, like all the Andy Juhl links are going to be down below, just like normal. Everybody's guest links, they're always down below somewhere. So be sure to check those out. I got to say thanks to Andy for coming on the podcast. What was the other? The Sesame Street 12 song. If you don't know what that is, please just go check it out. Like, it's crazy to say that, like, when we were growing up, it's like that was an educational song on an educational show, and so many of us know it and can sing it. We all know it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We all know the thing. But when he was describing it and how intricate it was, I was like, I don't recall. I remember it being an odd time signature when I listened to it, but I don't remember like how great like xylophone solos and stuff. And so I had to go pull it up, and since the podcast I've listened to it twice. Like, just I gotta check this out again. So the Sesame Street 12 song, they pulled that off. It was wild. It's just so fun to know that that's a thing that, again, right in our own backyard, somebody's making this amazing music, and I'm glad somebody's doing it. It was cool to go watch it live. You have to check out Andy Juhl if he comes by and plays a live show, especially if it's Andy Juhl and the Blue Stem Players. So, thank you, Andy, for coming on the podcast. Hopefully we got enough information out there for everybody to get really intrigued, because this was a fun time. So be sure you check out Andy Juhl's links down below. And while you're clicking on the links down below, check out the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association's links down below. I believe as this episode comes out, tomorrow is their next episode. So it'll be episode 6, I think. So be sure to check that out. That's going to be tons of fun. I know you're going to love it. I had such a blast. I left there feeling so refreshed after that conversation, because it was a lot deeper than I thought it was going to be. So it was really, really fun. So be sure to check out that. The episode will come out tomorrow on the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association's YouTube channel, or just right here if you're listening to the podcast. Otherwise, I do have their playlist on the Audible Farm YouTube as well. So if you want to check that out, that's where it's going to be. Please check it out. It's going to be awesome. That's going to be such a fun one. And the other links down below are all Audible Farm links. There are some Audible Farm shop stuff. I mean, there's stickers. I did get some new stickers recently. I have a lot of stickers. I don't know if anybody needs any stickers. Hit me up at a show. There's usually I usually have a couple in my pocket or somewhere nearby. I do have some stickers. So if you want an Audible Farm sticker, that's how you can get one. Otherwise, just go to the shop. You can get them there. There's a couple t-shirts still. There are also a couple hoodies still. But otherwise, that's what I've got for the shop. Otherwise, the Patreon episodes come out a day early, so you can check out everything one day early. Or if you want to just go check out the Patreon, you can actually see who's going to be on the next episode a day before everyone else does. If you're that curious, go check it out. Otherwise, audiblefarm.com for just about everything else. Tell somebody about the podcast, and subscribe, like, comment, share. Let me know that you guys listen to this. I have noticed, like, the episodes, it's so fun to see the listenership and to know, like, who's doing what. When you can see, like, the accordions of people listening on certain days where it's like, oh, Saturday, Sunday was actually really big for this. And it's like, oh, there must have been a lot of people traveling, you know? So there's, like, these weird little things you can kind of pick out and realize who's doing what on what days. And it's just fun. I'm glad people are listening. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad the podcast is going. And, basically, I don't want to say it's going to, if nobody listened, I wouldn't make it, and that's, I'm just glad people are listening. And thank you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. And holy cow. Go check out Andy Juhl's links down below. audiblefarm.com. Peace.